Good afternoon. I'm Rochelle Lebhar, and the topic is, can government be good for your business? Many candidates, elected officials, and much of the populace have a tendency to automatically say that government isn't good. I believe that when businesses are well run, there is less need for guidelines and regulations. But sometimes we need to remind ourselves of why we need some rules. Regulation does not mean government control. The problem is that too many industries, legislators, and administrative personnel want to lessen the public's protection. I have a few examples of why good policies and business working together result in a better economy. I hope it will generate more discussion. Now, the governing departments of the federal government can support agencies that the states can't, such as National Institute of Health, Food and Drug Admin, military, research, NASA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Admin, National Institute of Science, Disaster and Humanitarian Relief, amongst many others. The state pays the fire and police departments, and teachers, librarians, local parks get taken care of, and so forth. So let's start with the federal and state city agencies, and let's say that the Treasury borrows the money and gives it to Joe's Bridges and Roads Repair, a hypothetical company. It is a great opportunity for him, and he needs to hire at least 20 new employees. Maybe he falls under OSHA to make sure that the employees work in a safe environment, and maybe the EPA or some other agency is involved to make sure that the employees don't breathe in toxic fumes or such. Maybe the employees have to be paid a decent wage. The idea is to have a safe, productive, and healthy employee. The opposite of this are violations, costly fines, lawsuits, and at the extreme, the business is shuttered. So this is what happens. Joe's Bridges and Roads Repair and its employees pay federal, state, and property taxes. Joe knows that if he does a good job, there will be more contracts and his business will grow. The employees can then patronize their local businesses, barbershop, family restaurant, perhaps fix a car, or make an improvement on their home. Each of these businesses, along with their employees, pay taxes as well, and the economy expands. My example has been just about one company. Think about multiplying it thousands or hundreds of thousands of times to other firms. What if 300,000 companies or potential companies got a hand up and each one hired 10 employees? The employees then patronize their local businesses and they have to add some new staff. This way, more companies have more opportunities and more people are either hired or entrepreneurs are starting new businesses. More taxes help pay for all the services that we take for granted, and the elected lawmakers have money to pay down the debt that was initially incurred. More people work under safe, secure, and healthy environments. It is less costly to maintain this type of business policy than it is to avoid the guidelines, correct for them, and to have to pay a violation. Let's take one of my favorites, Costco. It is one of the highest rated companies in the U.S. It carries merchandise that the customers want. They take back returns with no questions asked, and they pay their employees considerably higher than the norm for the industry. And the CEO's salary, measured against the average employee as a percentage, is much lower than most other CEOs. Their employee turnover rate is somewhere around 4%. No other retailer in this segment comes close. There is no need to complain about safety regulations because it is in their interest to remain safe. So the moral of this story is, happy employees make happy customers who create more business and more profit. So now that the Fed has received all this money, they can pay back some of the loan and give a new contract to Bill's business that may fall under different guidelines. If this is repeated over and over, there is continuity for the country's expansion. There has been a talk by some legislators and economists about a 10% tax reduction. Now, anyone paying $100,000 a year in taxes probably has a house or two, several cars, major investments, and their retirement fund is set. So the $10,000 rebate will not have a significant impact on the individual's lifestyle. Let's take Ed, who's in his 30s, makes close to $40,000 and has a couple of kids. He might pay about $1,000 in taxes. The 10% will amount to just enough to buy his children a pair of sneakers. In both cases, the 10% does not have a material impact. Instead, why not a gradual tax reduction on an accelerated basis, giving the higher percentages to the lower income earners, helping them into a better financial position? Another crazy idea offered by some financial people that needs some scrutiny is to get rid of Social Security. Personally, I believe that people should have several options. For example, they can leave it as it is currently handled. Or if they want some investment in the market, allow for 1 to 5%. Mutual funds are one option, or another is specific sectors, alternative energy or technology, etc. This way, those who think they can do better than the current method can have more control over their account. If the safety net is loosened up, the protection the public counts on will be lost. The wealthy guy is already protected. Let's assume Ed pays $5 weekly into the Social Security system. So when he is 75 years old, the amount of the check may not be enough to live on. Another category to consider is that most of the states have departments that go around the world to solicit companies to move to their state. While it is not uniform, here are a few of some perks companies have been offered. Free land to build a facility, or purchase the land at a reduced price, sometimes through an arrangement by the state in exchange for other land. Help with a loan. Reduced property taxes, reduced utility rates, a tax holiday for 9 years, 25 years, 50 years, even 100 years. There are a few states who actually offer a no tax forever as an incentive to move there. In order to get some of the above perks, it is possible that the state may have thought the company would hire about 1,000 employees. So let's take the ABC Company Inc. LLC, doing business as Limited Corp. It's possible that the company started with 200 people the first year, added 50 the second, and another 50 the third year. If asked why they are not at full employment, someone from management may reply that they are operating very efficiently and run a lean organization. This is an example of why some incentives go awry. The problem in these examples is that in addition to the above taxes, the employee also pays full utility rates and taxes. Have you ever looked at the back of these bills for the number of charges? The states pay the teachers, librarians, police, and fire departments. Local roads and streets get paved and people can drive more safely. Now, I hope no one needs the police or fire departments, but why is it that the only ones who pay their fair share are the employees and homeowners? There is another aspect to all this mulling over. Many business magazines have lists of the 100 biggest companies or those with the most net value, as well as lists of the best companies to work for. Part of the benefits may be the ability to work from home, time off for new parents, or even transportation arrangements to and from work. What I haven't seen very much of is the help or contribution by the company to assist an employee going for a higher degree or training for a new position. So I did a Google search on this, and they came up with a list of about 25 companies. I should say that many other companies also help with tuition. Considering the cost of education today, most of the companies offered a range of $500 to $5,250 in help either annually or in total. Raytheon and Lockheed Martin gave $7,500 to $10,000. Intel pays 100%. Perhaps if a company can guarantee a certain number of students to the university, then maybe a lower tuition rate can be offered. I don't see it as a cost, but as an investment by and for the company. But if a school takes the money and doesn't provide the education, perhaps they should have to pay back some of the costs. Maybe this will be a deterrent to so many school loans going bad. Here is another concern. A number of governors are crowing about balancing their state's budget. This would be commendable if the reductions made sense. If someone looks carefully, he will find reductions in the number of personnel, salary, and benefits. At the same time, there are reductions in the quality of services, and programs are limited in availability. This does not convert to good governance. A balanced budget sounds good in theory, but there are many public obligations where budgets are stretched thin and will not be addressed. Now that I'm on a roll, there is over $2.5 trillion in overseas accounts. President Obama had offered a plan that if companies bring back this money to the U.S., they will only have to pay a 14% tax. I would have gone along with this if there was a condition that the monies had to be used for investment purchases, example, new equipment to make a better product, or more products, hire more people, etc. In this way, we go back to our early examples and everyone would benefit. However, many companies bring back money to buy back their stock in order to give bonuses to their senior management, as it has some tax preferences. Lots of this money was in loans or grants, and the first priority should be to pay back the taxpayers. I think there must be a secret society for CEOs. Just about every CEO I have heard says that their responsibility or obligation is to their shareholders. Even hedge fund investors have jumped into the conversation, saying that a company's obligation is to satisfy them. Right? I say not. I contend that the obligation and responsibility is to produce a good product at a reasonable cost and treat their employees and customers fairly. During the height of the recent recession, employees were let go, salaries were cut, benefits were slashed, and hours were curtailed or lengthened due to fewer employees. The management's mantra was that the employees should be grateful they have a job. However, if you ask the employee, it was just a job. There was no enthusiasm by either side. With that kind of attitude, it's no wonder that some companies are not doing very well. So when employees are treated well, as previously stated, they work harder, better, and are happier. This leads to more business, better run businesses, more opportunity, and more dividends to the shareholders. As long as we're talking about corporate responsibility, according to the AFL-CIO Corporate Pay Watch for 2015, 100 executives were paid from $18 million to over $150 million. Tim Cook of Apple made just over $10 million and didn't make the list. Now, I should point out that some of these companies are not in the greatest financial shape, nor do all of the companies or executives pay much in taxes due to write-offs and depreciation. In comparison, the average worker earns about $36,000. What to do? I will agree that there may be some laws or rules that are outdated or not effective in today's time. I also think that some rules or laws just need a little tweaking. Is there room for improvement? Of course, like most things in life. But you need a Congress willing to help make governing more efficient and to work smarter, not harder. With the current atmosphere there, this is a very tall request. Many of those in our elected Congress and administration want to eliminate agencies that are actually productive, helpful, and operate for the greater good. The idea of shutting down or eliminating many of the agencies is not beneficial to us, particularly those that earn money. We need to prevent those who prey on the innocent or who victimize the general public. But if we get rid of the investigators, then the crooks continue unabated. Companies that dump industrial waste into our lakes and rivers need to be held accountable, just as companies that spew toxic chemicals into the air should be made to pay the health and cleanup costs. Let's not confuse good regulation for government control. Today, we have whole new areas that didn't exist to the same extent not too long ago. We have large companies such as Google, General Electric, Microsoft, among many others who are investing in small companies or in research in fields that are conducive to the large company. Many universities have research centers and help their students meet with venture capitalists. Groups such as Kickstarter or crowdfunding allow for individuals to invest on a small scale. Some inventions or ideas have actually raised more money than they were initially seeking. Television programs such as Shark Tank inform the public about what investors look for. Cities and states are participating. Even city libraries are helping. New entrepreneurs and actors are investing in areas of technology, food, personal care, or are starting companies with a specific product. New innovations get created and progress moves forward. As long as they meet health and safety requirements, various agencies give loans or grants to help out the entrepreneurs. Another favorite of mine are the grants and loans to new businesses. According to Bloomberg Businessweek and the U.S. Department of Energy, the loan program for solar has already generated $1.65 billion and is expected to bring in at least $5 billion on its existing portfolio, already discounted from losses on those that did not work out. Several companies, such as Tesla, recently paid off loans many years ahead of schedule. So why doesn't all this help the economy? It does. The economy should be booming, but most of the money is in technology, hardware, software, and research. We need to divert some money into other areas. Education is a key component of this. Retraining on a larger scale is a must. Perhaps high schools can add new classes for adults. Many statistics can be found from the Census Department, Department of Commerce, any number of financial journals, reporting firms, and so forth, as to what constitutes the size of a firm. A small firm may or may not include the self-employed. Medium-sized firms may also be small to medium or medium to large. For a statistician, it must be nirvana, but for some of the rest of us, it is a headache in the making. So however you define it, here are some numbers. There are about 30 million small companies. About 15 million are self-employed. There are about 150,000 medium-sized companies and about 17,000 large ones. The way I see it is, if we want the small companies to grow into medium-sized ones, we may have to give some of them a helping hand with resources for whatever needs they have. The medium and large companies have more access to raising capital, building manufacturing plants, marketing, and sales. Public agencies have all types of resources where businesses can tap into, but each category has its own challenge. American Express, along with the U.S. Census Department and Department of Commerce, have put together the following information. There are 11.3 million women-owned businesses employing 9 million people. Revenues are over 1.6 trillion. They increased about 45% compared to 9% for overall business in 9 years. Employment growth in women-owned businesses went up 18%, while overall businesses went down 1%. Many women-owned businesses are small firms. Even though there are set-asides, many of the projects tend to be small. I would like to see more women-owned business participate on a greater level in very large projects. I believe their growth in number and size would be even more significant. Another area of note where public career professionals, together with social agencies and businesses, has been instrumental is in the global arena, where there has been much devastation from earthquakes, storms, poverty, flooding, health epidemics, and war, assisting the people in their time of need. Recognition and gratitude by the people affected is greatly appreciated for our humanitarian assistance. Different agencies have given loans or grants for health, education, science, and entrepreneurship. Yes, not all have been a proven success. Venture capital and banks have their own rules and may not or cannot invest. But with the taxpayers' help, many prestigious awards have been won. My talk has been about possibilities and opportunities for our economic future, well-being, resources, and help for our planet. In closing, the relationship between our elected representatives and business can be full of innovation and progress, be healthful, helpful, and useful. I believe that some investment debt is necessary as a means to help foster further growth. In the end, more people are contributing to the economy instead of being a recipient. When people have good jobs, there is more satisfaction and less strife. When government gets involved, helps a company move forward, more people share in the wealth. Thank you.